Welcome to Behind the Gate, the podcast where we go beyond the kennels and the chaos to uncover what it really takes to run a successful pet business. Today, I'm honored to welcome Brad Huber, Director of Training at the renowned Olde Towne School for Dogs in Alexandria, Virginia. With years of experience guiding dogs and their owners, Brad emphasizes positive, practical training, helping dogs navigate everything from water to social settings with confidence and ease. For coming on here with me, I really appreciate it. I know you're a super busy guy. So, why don't we just start by you introducing yourself and telling us what you do?
My name is Brad Huber, or Bradford Huber. I always tell people I'm a dog trainer. If I lead in with business owner, it seems to slant people's views. I'm from Northern Virginia, just outside of DC. That's my business's demographics, the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. My business, the Olde Towne School for Dogs, hence the name. We are first and foremost a dog training school. We also have a large retail floor selling pretty much everything you would need for your dog, short of medical supplies and veterinary care. We also have a full-service grooming operation.
Gotcha.
And the business, I'm not the founder. This is our 50th year in business.
Yeah, to have founded.
Yeah, exactly. So we are celebrating our half-century mark this year. It was founded back in 1975 by the Mejias family, a husband and wife, Sandy and Carlos Mejias. We've been in the same location since the start. The Mejias family actually trained my parents' first dog after they had gotten married about a decade before I was even born. And every dog since then, trained by them also. I remember being not to say a little kid, but a younger kid coming to dog training lessons given by them. At a point in college, I realized that the track I was on was not the best choice for me. I was pre-law for a long time and hit a point where I had taken enough law classes and read enough law books and met enough lawyers to realize that that was not really my passion moving forward, and decided to start looking into dog training, being kind of the hometown dog training school near me, the only one I knew of. I was the squeaky wheel that got the grease. I think I called about every other day for maybe 4 months asking for an interview, and upon graduation started working there, and that was 13 years ago. Myself and my business partner bought the business a little over 2.5 years ago, going on 3 years now.
Oh, great. Congrats.
Thank you.
So you are business owner and the director of training, is that right?
I was the director of training prior to purchasing the business. Since then, we've dismantled that position. I had proposed the creation of that position maybe 8 or 9 years ago as a way to take on more responsibility, but also as a way to, unburden the owners at that point. They were getting up there in age and making their exit from the business. I saw an opportunity to help them and take on more responsibility. Once we purchased the business, we decided that we wanted to keep the same business structure, kind of a mom and pop style. It is very top down, so at this point we no longer really need a director of training. I guess you could call me that, but that's no longer an official title within the business.
How many trainers work for you?
Including myself, we have 8. I don't take on the full course load that the rest of the trainers do, just give them other responsibilities, but including myself, 8, and then we usually have one apprentice trainer who's learning the craft at all times. Currently,
that's a lot of personalities to manage.
Yes.
So what is the hardest part of your job? The thing that sometimes just drives you a little crazy?
The hardest part, seeing untapped potential in people's dogs. Mm-hmm. So we are first and foremost an obedience school. We handle any issue that people might be having, but as you can imagine, doing this for so many years, we see a lot of mismatches between dogs and their owners or dogs and their families. As trainers, we are pretty successful at drawing the full potential out of dogs, although we're always there to help people continue to build their relationship with their dogs. The most frustrating thing, the only really disheartening thing, is seeing people who don't really have the will or the desire, or sometimes the physical capability to actually give their dogs what they need. Frequently, it's a matter of people having the wrong dog for them or their lifestyle or their family.
So you're
So that
talking
would be
about a greyhound that lives with a retired person,
in a
or
500 square foot apartment.
easiest part of your job, the most effortless part.
The actual training. The one-on-one time with the dogs is what we as dog trainers really enjoy most. So that, at least for me, at my point in my career, has become the easiest and most effortless.
Hmm.
It's still one of the most enjoyable, but the actual interactions with the dogs are the easiest.
Dog training is oftentimes romanticized. People
Mm-hmm.
think, what is the unseen side of work that most people wouldn't expect?
The most unseen side. There's a reality to training a dog, or owning a dog for that matter, that most people don't really understand. And that is, when it comes to trained dogs, the dog knowing a behavior and the dog reliably offering that behavior are very different things. So it is very simple to teach a dog to sit or to lay down or to come when they're called, but ensuring that that dog will do each of the behaviors in the repertoire reliably is oftentimes, I don't want to say like the dirty side of the training, but that requires a mind-numbing amount of repetition. You have to understand the nuances of how dogs think and also react accordingly when they do not respond the way you need them to. The reality of training is it's not all rainbows and sugar-coated
Unicorns.
kisses.
Yeah.
Exactly. Frequently, because dogs are not humans and dogs do not reason like humans, there is a physical side to dog training that most people want to either overlook or look down upon. If you're looking into actual dog training, specifically a lot of the facets in this world where dogs are used as tools. So, for instance, like military war
Seeing eye
dogs,
dogs.
police
Yeah.
dogs, seeing eye dogs, most service dogs, the teaching process with those dogs. Yes, we want to reward as much as we can, but rewards alone and the strictly all positive route does not necessarily touch on the fact that dogs are not going to just listen like machines.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to have the will to make them do it when they don't want to. So,
Right.
how do you make sure that your client who doesn't understand that has the will to make it happen?
So we are very upfront with our methodology. We've always been a very balanced approach school.
Mm-hmm.
We will not sign people up who are uncomfortable with or unwilling to use our methods. That's how we don't fall into this trap. You may or may not know, but the kind of the more modern approach to dog training right now, the crowd favorite is the all positive reinforcement crowd. They claim that the science is on their side. They claim that, it's I can train your dog with pressure-free techniques. It's all, consent-based, we've heard as a term tossed around. And in my opinion, there's only really three types of people who are, three types of people who claim to be positive reinforcement only trainers. And you've got, first off, I think the largest group are those who are so inexperienced and naive as to think that this process can actually be done successfully and provide a reliable product solely through positive reinforcement. Then you have, in my opinion, a bit of an unethical group of people who claim to be all positive as a way to sell themselves, but in reality are a more balanced, that have more of a balanced methodology. And then you have the smallest portion of people who actually do positive reinforcement correctly. They manage the distractions. They find what their dogs are willing to work for more than anything, any other drive in the dog's life. Those people, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of know-how. I'm not one to say that positive reinforcement training can't work, but doing it properly requires more finesse and more knowledge of how your dog is actually thinking through their problems day by day in order to do it properly.
You and I are very aligned in our thoughts on training methodology.
And that's the other thing. Our success over the last several decades has come from the fact that we have the most natural and most applicable training methodology. Once our trainers break it down and explain to our clients that We're going to teach your dog in a very positive way and then shift to a more balanced approach, which means we're going to reward what we like and correct appropriately what we dislike. That seems to resonate with nearly everyone.
Yes, it boils down to cost versus benefit. Because the dog is always trying to benefit themselves. The cost outweighs the benefit, then they aren't going to do the thing.
Right.
So that's how we always try and teach people. Shifting just a little bit.
My dog thinking.
UPS guy probably.
Yeah.
What tends to lead to burnout in your training staff?
In the training staff, thankfully, we have not experienced burnout to a large degree. Our pay structure for our trainers is very much incentive-based. It's a mixture of hourly wage and a bonus structure, basically commissions for lessons given.
Dogs, commissions for those as well?
We don't offer board and train in a traditional sense. We have a day board and train system called our day school program. It's like a school for a child. Every dog in our day school program is enrolled for 3 consecutive weeks. They're dropped off each morning, trained throughout the day, and picked up by their owners each afternoon. We give a one-on-one lesson for the owners, a private handling lesson, at the end of each of those dogs' 3 weeks, so that we can basically teach the owners what the dog has already learned through demonstrations and discussions, and then get the leash in their hands and have them learn how to access and maintain the training. Okay. So back to your original question, what would lead to burnout? We have some trainers who are a bit overzealous and take on a larger client load than they probably should. If you're working 10 hours a day and 5 of those hours are conducting lessons where you have to be on and energetic and focused the entire time, people can sustain that for a little while, but eventually you're going to have to take a step back and cool off your schedule a bit.
So what are the early signs that you've learned to spot in someone who is taking on too much?
Seeing their schedule. Obviously, as a business owner, I grant a decent bit of autonomy with my trainers, but I'd have the master schedule so I can see firsthand just how much work they're taking on. We've kind of come down to a pretty obvious formula of how many lessons a trainer can take on per week or how many clients they can take on per week before their craft starts to take a downturn.
Right.
There's a threshold that needs to be respected.
Do you find that the compensation is what keeps your trainers motivated the most? Is there anything else that you do? Do y'all do staff events? Do you do continuing education?
So we do pay our trainers. I haven't done the market research in a little while, but we do pay our trainers more competitively than they would likely be compensated on their own or with other trainers. There are a lot of schools out there that have a head trainer and then a bunch of sub-trainers below them who don't really do the instruction but just handle the dogs. Those trainers are not necessarily paid that well. Someone who goes out on their own, training dogs under their own business name, they have to bring their own clients in, they have to focus on advertising, they have to pay for all of their insurances. There's a lot of overhead that goes into owning a business, even if you're just a self-employed one-man show.
Right.
So yes, I would say we do pay our trainers well. The incentive-based pay very much rewards people who put extra effort in. Not only is it straight commissions, the more you work, the more you make, but there are also thresholds where if our trainers do more than X amount of lessons in a pay period, then there's a percentage, there's certain thresholds that they can make. Beyond that, being part of a community, we all do community outreach in terms of community service, all dog-related community service, whether that be cleaning up the local parks or volunteering at the shelters nearby. We actually have a staff requirement for the trainers that they do a certain amount of hours per year. We do staff outings. Most recently, we went bowling as a group. Everyone can kick back, and the only rule to those staff outings is that no one talks about dogs. Since that's what we're doing every day, all day long. Everyone gets to come and have a few drinks, have some good food, and kind of relax with your coworkers and not have to focus on what you have to typically every day in your professional life. Continued education. We hold meetings all the time, but we certainly have a staff meeting once a month with the trainers to come together as a collective and chat through whatever I need to get across to the staff, but also anything that they want to get off their chest. Within that, we also have an Olde Towne School for Dogs book club where we assign a book either every other month or, depending on the length, maybe every 3 months. We don't read necessarily books that just back our methodology and philosophy. We actually read books that oppose our philosophy.
Are you reading right now?
Right now, we're reading a very dry CPR, basically like a dog first aid textbook, going over all of the ailments that dogs can fall victim to, how to stop bleeding, how to address, issues in the eye, not to get too graphic, but what it means if your dog's poop looks like this or like that. Things that generally are the responsibilities of a vet, but given that we try to be a bit of a one-stop shop for everyone, and obviously our clients are entrusting their dogs to us throughout the day, if we see something or if something occurs, we are the first line of defense. So if the dog were to pick something up and start to choke, it's important that our staff knows how to take the immediate first aid so that we can quickly get them to a veterinarian who can take the proper medical steps. That was the thought for this most recent book, to make sure that everyone knows as much as they can beyond just the surface level in terms of what to do in the first aid life.
What is one training myth that you wish would disappear forever?
Training myth or dog myth?
Let's do both.
Do both. So one training myth that you as a client simply have your dog trained and then the process is done. People have this misconception that once I pay someone to train my dog, then I can say that my dog is trained, period, and I don't have to do any of the work, which is as far from the truth as it could possibly be.
Yes, just tell our clients you're not bringing home a refrigerator.
I usually use an analogy of car maintenance. If you buy a new car and you never maintain it, it could be the best car in the world, but it's eventually going to break down. Maintaining what you have invested in. So as far as dog training, if you take your dog in for training, like you should, but at the same time, a lot of people out there can just train their own dogs and more power to them. But regardless if you've had your dog professionally trained or if you're doing it yourself, any skill that goes unpracticed will begin to fade.
Yes.
I wish people would understand that training is an ongoing, lifelong process. It's not just something that you do and then can be done with.
Right. And what about dogs as opposed to the myth?
Myth about dogs. There's a lot that come to mind. Probably the most politically correct one that I can say would be that all dogs are friendly. A lot of people have this misconception that every dog should be just as friendly as the last. They also have this unfortunate misconception that, just because my dog was friendly and social when they're younger, that they should always remain that social, when in reality, generally speaking, dogs become not unfriendly, but less social as they get older. I wish people would understand that putting a 10-year-old dog into a dog park setting is like throwing a 70-year-old into a college bar. It's not going to necessarily work out. Sometimes it will. Most of the time, you're going to make a dog very uncomfortable and likely to react poorly if they are put outside of their comfort level.
What is the most surprising thing you've learned about people through your work?
That although none of them will ever admit it, they are always more stubborn than their dogs.
What are the most repetitive or soul-sucking parts of your business that you would automate tomorrow if you could?
That I would automate?
If you have to do it, if you could let some...
Oh, no, I understand. I can't think of any. I love my job. I enjoy going into work every day, whether if it's a short day or if it's a 12-hour day. I love checking in. I love opening the store. I love doing the walk around to make sure that there's no debris or trash on the sidewalk. Point the finger at the school. I like cleaning up because I feel like the appearance of the business is a reflection on me and on my staff. I like greeting the customers as they come in. I like greeting the dogs as they come in. I like checking them in. I like, obviously, the training aspect. I like the client correspondence, calling the people throughout the day and giving them basically a report card as to how their dog is doing. I guess if I had to do one thing less, It would be handling staff, or I guess I was going to say staff disputes, but if there's ever a conflict within the staff, that's not necessarily my favorite thing to handle.
Do you ever feel like the admin side of your business takes more energy than the training part?
Our admin has been fairly well structured before myself and my business partner took the business over. Mm-hmm. So it's been, kind of smooth sailing from there. We've upgraded components. I'm not looking forward to redesigning a website or shifting to a better point of sale system. As far as the systems we have in place currently, I would not consider anything to be a drain than just the typical daily tasks.
So your scheduling of your clients and then scheduling of your staff is just easy to do.
Piece of cake. We have it down pat.
If AI could give you back 5 hours a week, how would you spend that time?
Sleeping. To be totally honest, that's one of the drawbacks of enjoying your job so much, is that you tend to be there often. I think, like many other people, if I had more time, maybe get an extra hour of sleep a day.
What guardrails would you want to make sure technology supports, not replaces, the human connection? You have to have the heart, you have to have the automation. How do you make sure that it all connects?
I'm not sure you're going to be happy with this answer, but I don't think that you have to in this industry, or at least in what I do, in what we do as trainers. I don't necessarily think that technology and the in-person have to connect. Sending out reminders to our clients that they have a lesson coming up is a small thing, so I guess that's technology-based. Having phone calls or sending emails to clients obviously is technology-based, but I think what we have been good in maintaining, and one of the reasons that we do not necessarily have a retention issue as far as clientele goes, is our personal touch. We unlike your first impression if you enter, let's say, a Petco or a PetSmart, where you've got 30-foot warehouse style ceilings and endless rows, and there's never an employee to ask you how you're doing or if they can help you find something. We have tried to create a culture and an experience for our clients that is the polar opposite of that. I think one of the reasons why people come to us is that they're going to be greeted as they come through the door. They're going to be asked how their day is going. They're going to obviously be asked if they need help finding anything or if they need help carrying a bag of food out to their car. It's the personal kind of hometown touch, the mom and pop style business touch that you don't get ordering through Chewy or walking into a big box store.
Very relational as opposed to transactional. Yeah.
Yep. And that extends to how we train as well.
Right.
We do have resources that we share with our clients, printed resources, books, if they're so inclined. All of our trainers, the way that we generally approach our training is that we try to put ourselves in the shoes of our clients and imagine that their dog is ours. So how are we gonna help ourselves by working with this dog in the best ways? That goes beyond just the training techniques, but how are we going to prioritize the training plan? We ask ourselves, what do these clients need the most and need first to be successful? Having that personal touch, I can't imagine doing it any differently. And I think that's also why people who try their luck watching some YouTube videos or maybe paying for an online seminar to learn how to train a dog eventually turn to someone who can actually relate to them in a one-on-one basis.
If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about your business, what would it be?
Just one thing?
Just one.
First to mind would be doubling the clientele, but that would then involve doubling the staff. One thing that would lead to all the other things, I would say tripling the space that we have.
Have you outgrown your space?
Our building that we're in was originally built in the late 1800s. We're in the historic district of Olde Towne, Alexandria, just a few blocks away from George Washington's office, his church. We are across the street from Robert E. Lee's boyhood home. So It is not necessarily the most expansion friendly.
Right.
It's a wonderful place to train, wonderful place to learn and work, but we are fairly constrained as far as size goes. We have a 3,000 square foot retail space on the ground floor, and then our kennel and grooming operation are contained upstairs. If we had more space, we would be able to hire more trainers, we'd be able to take on more dogs. Because one thing to tie back into a question you asked earlier, things I dislike. I dislike that we have a 4 or 5 month wait list for training. From a business standpoint, that's good. It shows that there's interest in the product that we offer, but I would also like to be able to help people as quickly as we can. Mm. It is hard to tell someone, yes, we would love to work with you, we'd love to train your dog, but we can't do it until next year.
Yeah, I imagine you lose a lot of people that way, unfortunately. Depending on how serious the situation is.
Yeah, exactly. We do have courses that don't necessarily book up that far in advance, so there are alternate routes for people, but the course I was explaining earlier, our day school program, is very much our flagship program. That's the one that maintains a wait list of several months, and that's also the program that is the most helpful for most people when it comes to issues that might be a bit out of their wheelhouse. Severe reactivity, fear, aggression, anxiety, those types of things.
Mm-hmm. So your biggest thing holding you up is space. If you had more space, you could hire more trainers, you could serve more dogs.
Space would be the first issue. Hiring quality people would be the second issue. Everything else from there, I think, would likely fall into place.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give other pet care leaders trying to scale responsibly while keeping quality and well-being front and center?
Don't rush into a second location. Or another way to put that would be don't rush into expanding quicker than you need to. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like as soon as someone expands too quickly, or, as soon as they bite off more than they can chew, quality control is going to decline. Assuming you don't have a second hand or right-hand man who can run a second location or handle a larger staff, I feel like a lot of people in this industry are similar to myself and my business partner. It's very much a mom and pop business. I feel like as soon as you start to make that more of a corporate structure and you're looking at doubling the amount of staff that you have or opening a second and third location or franchising, and quality is going to take a big hit.
I think the pain points between a first and second location are huge. So if somebody can figure out how to open that second location, then adding a third or a fourth is probably easier. Well, do you have any final thoughts for professionals who want to love what they're doing? They want to be in it for the long haul, but they don't even really know how to get going.
Pet professionals as in dog trainers or someone in the pet industry?
As in trainers.
Trainers? Yes, plenty of words. If you're training dogs, you love dogs. That's a given, or it should be a given. If you don't love conversing with people, or at the very least, if you're an introvert but you like sharing your passion, which is what I would consider myself. I'm not necessarily the most talkative person or social person, but I do love sharing my passion. If you're not a people person, professionally, dog training is not likely for you. Most people who apply for our apprenticeship program don't understand that this is not just dog training. Dog training is the day-to-day, but if you're not able to turn that around and teach a client how to do it properly, then it's all for nothing.
I've seen trainers who could teach a dog to stand on its head, but they couldn't teach a human anything. You have to have,
Yeah.
Well,
that's a rarity.
If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Our website, it's the acronym for oldtowneschoolfordogs.com, so OTSFD.com. That will look brand new in a couple of months once I get around to refreshing the website. Call us, stop in. On social media, our Instagram is at OTSFD, and our Facebook is probably just Olde Towne School for Dogs, with an E at the end of Old and Town.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed meeting, learning about you. It sounds like you have a great business going.
Thank you. Happy to contribute. Happy to be here.